trying to even up the score. The wrong leader was elected. We've been
Hey y'all, it's Joefer here, the Cranky Old Gay Guy. And today I am coming to you from a wet Portland, Oregon, where it is pouring cats and dogs and kittens and puppies and frogs. It's wet, it's gloomy, it's cool, chilly, not my kind of weather. But that's not what we're here today to talk about. We're talking about rioting and vandalism. As most of you know, next Tuesday is an election. And here in Portland, people tend to protest just about everything. And during the Black Lives Matter protest movement, the protests turned into riots in Portland. I'm sure you saw the national news where things were caught on fire and defaced and broken up, and cops were here and the FBI was here, and men in vans were driving around picking up people off the street and harassing them, beating them up, tossing them out on the other side of town. Okay, so this is the expectation in Portland, that there will be riots next week, regardless of who wins. Why do I say this? Because businesses in the downtown core area are already putting plywood over their windows. I thought it was maybe just one, but then I looked at a news feed and one of the local stations has reported on this as well as the next thing I'm going to mention. People in Portland, this isn't what I'm going to mention, it's coming up. Regardless of who wins, if the Democratic nominee wins, the far right will come out and just bust things up. The Proud Boys will come back to town. American Front will be here. It will be Nazi flags. I'm not going to say the KKK because they don't call themselves that anymore, at least not in this area. They call themselves the Proud Boys. Okay, when Proud Boys come to town, they don't just race up and down the road with Trump flags. They shout nasty things to people on the street, they throw things, and they try to start fights because that's what they do. They are wannabe right-wing militias, and they are pretty much. And a lot of them have gotten in trouble because they have weapons, and they also have criminal charges against them, so they're not allowed to have weapons. And I think one of the leaders was put back in jail for that the last time. Okay, so that's what happens if the Democratic nominee wins. If the Republican Party wins, there will be protests, absolutely, but they're just protests. The problem is just like there is the far right on the right, there's the far left on the left. And the far left on the left are just anarchists. They don't want rules, they don't want government, they don't want anything but to cause problems. And they are the group that almost always is responsible for turning a peaceful riot into a non-peaceful riot. They are also the ones who will antagonize the Proud Boys. So, if the Democratic Party wins, the Proud Boys are going to come to town. Okay? It's their right to protest, even though most of them don't even live here. They come to town just to cause problems. The problem with that is that the far left, the anarchists, will also go down, not to protest, but to confront the Proud Boys, because they want anarchy. That's what they live for. Now, who's the leader of the anarchists? There is no leader, because that's what anarchy means. There is no social structure whatsoever. It's probably just a Twitter chain. And now that Elon owns Twitter, expect it to be even more, I want to say violent, actually, because that seems to be what everything you hear on Twitter is hit this, hurt that, etc. That's what's going to happen next Tuesday evening or Wednesday. if someone wins the Democratic Party and the Republican Party says no, it was stolen, of course there will be protests and it will turn into a riot, and everyone here is expecting that because that's the way it works in Portland, because you can't just be left or right. You have to be far left or far right because they're the ones that are going to get all the media attention and cause the problems. Now, the other thing I was going to talk about is, I think it was this weekend, could have been Friday, could have been just Monday, I don't remember. I just saw it this morning, but someone put up a life-size Trump statue downtown, and Portland is known for a sculpture of someone with an open raincoat like this over the back of their head. And anyway, it's called Expose Yourself to Art. I believe that's the name of that bronze statue. Now, this statue was a life-size Trump statue, and I might add they made him a much, much slimmer than he really is. He actually looked almost healthy, this statue, and it's painted gold, and it had a plaque on it, which was his quote from the Access Hollywood tape about him being a star and how women let him do anything and he can grab them by the pee if he wants to. And it's accredited to Donald Trump, and it's a plaque at the bottom on the base. Well, within an hour of the statue going up, someone beheaded it. I don't know where the head's at. I saw pictures of it before, and I saw pictures an hour after it was up. And then, almost immediately, this Trump supporter, who happens to be running for city council here in Portland, and by the way, has no chance of winning. I read his statement in the pamphlet. He's a joke. Absolute joke. And he went down and he set up a camera on a tripod, and he filmed himself taking a chisel and chipping away at the plaque at the base of the statue to remove that quote, who on the video he says is slander. Well, it can't be slander if it's true. And Trump said it himself, so it's not really slander. So he's videotaping himself vandalizing this statue and being very proud of it, and saying, you need to treat the president with respect. Well, first of all, he's not the president. He's an ex-president, and he's a failure as a human being. So no, we do not need to treat him with respect, okay? He doesn't respect anyone or anything, and to get respect, you need to give respect. So, city council person who filmed yourself vandalizing a statue on public property, is there grounds to charge you with anything? I don't know, because the city didn't own the statue. It just showed up. Now, if someone owns the statue and came forward, I believe they could press charges against you for vandalism. That probably won't happen because the city will be involved in riots next week, and this Trump statue will mean absolutely nothing. Later in the day, according to the news, the Trump statue was approached by several individuals who ripped it to pieces, and the only thing left that the news could show was one shoe on the base, a golden shoe. Now, who ripped it apart? I don't know. I don't know which side ripped it apart, supporters or people who were in opposition. Did they rip it apart because they just didn't want to see that effigy here in town? Or did they rip it apart because they were upset that someone was mocking Donald Trump? I don't know. I'm sure that if there were people from both sides tearing it apart, there would have been, I don't know, it would be like reaching across the aisle. Maybe that's what we need. We need rioters who are on opposite sides who want to destroy something come together in unison and do it together and show that America can be cohesive again. Maybe that is the solution. But why does it make me cranky? It makes me cranky because protesting is a right. However, you have the far left and you have the far right who can't seem to protest peacefully. They always have to start something. So that makes me cranky. I have been downtown when there are big protest marches, like Labor Day marches, And I have seen the police get very aggressive towards protesters. I'm guessing it's because their higher-ups are saying, get them off the street or get them out of this area. So the police just go in and pepper spray people. Yeah. Sometimes they'll say it's because they were attacked or because someone threw something. Well, again, you have the lefty lefts and you have the righty rights, and they want to cause problems. And that's the issue. And that's what makes me cranky, is that protesting, like I said, is a right. That's fine. General question, though. How does protesting in Portland have any effect on the outcome of an election that's already happened? Okay? It's not Portland that is voting to suppress your rights. Okay? If you want to protest someone, you should have been protesting way in advance before people actually cast their votes. Another thing that's happened in the Portland area, and happened in Vancouver, Washington as well, is that some a-hole put a firebomb into the voting drop boxes to destroy people's votes. That is suppression of one's right to vote and a right to be heard. It's vandalism. I believe since it's a federal voting box, it's also domestic terrorism. And yeah, I hope that the people who did it are caught and get punished for it, because that is no way to run a society, is to let people just push their way and bully their way in and over people. And that's what these vandals do, and that is what the people who have attacked the voting boxes do. That's all I have today. I do want to encourage everyone that if you haven't voted, to go out and vote with your conscience. Please don't be a one-issue voter, because one issue is just that. It's one issue. So if you think that, let's say, abortion is your big issue, so you're going to vote for the Republican candidate, that's up to you. But think about everything else that are issues that are also important, that are going to be lost and not addressed in a way that's going to be beneficial to the country if you vote for that person. Because remember, one side, now given there's money in politics on both sides, but one side is acting much more favorable towards billionaires and huge corporations and eliminating regulations and anything that could potentially hinder those rich groups from making more money, while the other side is really pushing for benefits for everyone in the country. Individual rights, a woman's right to choose her own medical situation, her medical decisions. It shouldn't be in the hands of the government in the first place. There's one side that's pushing for childcare. There's one side that's pushing for helping people buy their first home. There's one side that wants to help people who are right now underprivileged or in minority groups, so they're walked on. That's one side. The other side that wants to help the billionaires is not working towards that. In fact, they're working to make things worse for you. So keep that in mind when you go to vote, or if you mail in your vote. Hopefully you've already voted, and you voted with your conscience, but also thinking about what is best for society. I know that some people will think, well, I was better off when someone else was the president. Well, maybe you were, or maybe you just remember you were, because there was a lot going on and the world had shut down for a while because of COVID, and you got a check that said someone's name on it that really held those checks up for a long time so they could get their name on them, so people would think that that person was individually giving you money. Wasn't the case. The money came from the government. It didn't come from the president. That's neither here nor there. This was about rioting and vandalism. And the vandalism is trashing. I mean, trashing statues, not just the Trump statue, but the last big riot, they trashed some statues that have been here for 100 years. They vandalize storefronts. They break windows. They break windows on cars. They light cars on fire. Oh, that's the vandalism that goes on with it. And it all makes me cranky because it's the lack of respect, again, for your fellow citizens, for the city, for the people who are trying to keep the peace, for the rest of the country who sees Portland and these things that are happening and think that we are just this vile criminal Gotham from a Batman series somewhere. It's not the case. In fact, other than a homeless or a houseless situation where a lot of these people are hanging out downtown, and that's the way it is in most moderate to large cities, that's the only thing that I think is really scaring people away right now, is because they don't want to see that. Well, I don't think the people that live on the street want to see that either, but they don't really have many options right now. So don't avoid going to Portland if there's some reason you need to be down there, because you don't want to see homeless people. Because guess what? There are homeless people in the suburbs too. You're just not seeing them because you're not looking. All right, that's all. I've got a lot more to say. It's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Halloween. May you do something fun. I will be out there playing naked pool, probably, wearing my birthday costume. I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
The wrong leader was elected. We've been cheated all along. We're here to say we're not backing down, 'cause you did us so wrong. You can't destroy this country 'cause you think it's about you. We're here defending freedom. Yes, there's something we can do. There's riots in the streets of Portland, fires rage into the night. Police engage with the public, we the people stand and fight. We're gonna fight, fight, fight. We're gonna fight, fight, fight. There's no stopping freedom, doing what we know is right. Broken glass along the sidewalks, blood stains in the street. A burned minivan blocks the traffic lanes, the cops turned up the heat. Our spirits can't be broken, just our bones, our limbs and teeth. Lawsuits are on the horizon, will